Well, good morning. It's Monday. So I will start out with an apology that you did not have a video today because I didn't make one. It has been I hate to use such a big word, but for me it was traumatic. Every day there was someone on the property that would be considered a stranger. I don't know them. And they were here to do work. I've never done this before in my life. Had workmen on my property, and it always makes me feel anxious. They're men of good character as far as I know. They came recommended by people that the hardware store, I would trust them. So it did not stop me from being anxious all day, every day, to the point where I was just not thinking proper. However, today's update is going to try to, so the series of unfortunate events with the water pump and the inverter. Bob and I discussed the inverter issues last year and talked about purchasing, not upgrading, but having backups for such a time as this. And he had begun that process. So I said, find what we need. You just find what, you do the shopping and I'll pay halfsies. We talked about it, and then when my inverter went, I knew where there was a new one. However, it was not a 24 volt. It was 12 volt. That's something else to tell you about, is the wind and what's coming. I'm the only one with a 12 volt system. So when Bob started buying backups, he bought mine first. So that's what I found. So I had to get the inverter, then I paid Tim to install it, and then everything's working finally. There was a lot of leaking. There was a lot of frustration. In getting it to stop leaking. And so, in my excitement and thinking, now the inverter works and the pump's working, I went to take a shower. For some reason, I get no pressure. I don't get enough pressure except for to turn the hot water on, to make it heat. If you add any more pressure to it, by trying to cool it off enough to not scald your skin, you've got about 30 seconds to a minute of water that's not scalding and that's not freezing. That was my last shower. And I did that thinking, at one point I ended up completely wet in my sarong outside with my head in the water pump area, trying to figure out what was wrong and crying. It was a miserable shower. And so, but I was clean and my head was clean, and that was important. Then, I hate to even say this because it's like, it is one problem, worry after another. It's a constant maintaining. And what's happening, for whatever reason, I do not have enough power coming out of my batteries to run the pump if the sun is not shining. The whole thing is so absurd and just continuous that I just kind of shut down. And I shut down, one, because I had somehow managed to injure my foot, ankle, leg thing. I don't know. Because when I looked up the symptoms of why is this hurting, the only thing I could find was plantar fasciitis, which I've had in the past. And so I went and I looked at all the things you do. Well, that's not where the pain is. It just wasn't where the pain is. So I did what they said to do for it on where the pain was. And it took me 3 days before I could walk again. I was really hobbling. I'm recovered physically. Now I'm working on the emotional. And the truth is, I just miss Bob. It's not just what he could do. It was just that he was here. And he knew me. I don't know if you've ever had to just always be with strangers. And they're friends. They're friendly strangers. But they're not people that really know me. And it's been a long time. It's been a decade. So I am looking forward. So forward to having Emily here. Emily knows me. And she loves me anyway, because I'm her mama. But it'll just be, it's different. And maybe this Thanksgiving. This is why I haven't made the video, because I don't want to make a video where I'm always crying. And I know people think you should be better. And in some ways I am. And it's grief. It's an odd thing. It's an odd thing. So, I have good news. Emily and George have received a most wonderful and amazing donation that will completely pay for the truck rental. So they are making headway. Their intention and their goal, their time frame, is to actually be on the road the first week of November. This weekend, for the next 4 or 5 days, the sisters, Molly, Sarah, are in Virginia also. Well, Sarah's in Virginia. She lives in North Carolina. So she was up at Molly's. So Molly and Sarah are going to help Emily and George with a big yard sale running Friday and Saturday, I believe. And that's the money. They're hoping that will cover the gas. They have kind of calculated. But, you know, it's hard to calculate when you don't know what gas is going to cost you. But you can kind of average it out and go big and go with that. And I think that's what they did as far as on the Gifts and Go campaign. They kind of listed that. So I'm really hoping and praying the yard sale will bring in a substantial amount of money. And they're selling a lot of stuff because they don't have room for it here, obviously. And y'all pray. Y'all also pray for them to be very successful in their yard selling endeavors. And once the yard sale is done, then they're really going to get serious about the packing up. Now, the weather is changing, as you hear. And today we are under a wind advisory and all day, and it's going to, this is the bad news about the weather. The winds are going, right now they're south. They're coming from the south. It's kind of balmy. It feels nice if you're not in it. I had to move the dogs because there was so much sand blowing. I was like, oh, I got to get them in a non-windy, or where like a little bit of a wind block. Well, once the wind shifts, I'll have to move them again. I am trying to get a space ready for Emily and George. And I realize I've got about 3 good weeks. And I have been so discombobulated with having workmen on the property every day at different times and things going wrong. And it was hard. I was looking forward to Shabbat, and I got 2 in a row. And I needed it. The physical rest. I had to keep my leg elevated. And so I did that for like 2 days. I did massage oils and stuff. It was a partially hip. It's all connected. Now, I did something. What did I do? Yesterday, I mucked out the duck pen. And so about middle of the day, there was so much pain in my hip and my leg and my hip and my leg. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And I had the idea, well, why don't you, well, actually I prayed about it. And then I had the idea, why don't you try some aspirin? I took 2 aspirin. And that inflammation that was screaming at me almost went away completely. It was amazing. So, wow. And that's what happens when you don't when you don't take pain meds on a regular basis and you get in pain and then you take something for pain. It really works. So today I'm not as stiff and sore, and I'm grateful for that. I have walked the perimeter, and that's the big news for this Wednesday. Something is actually complete and functional, will not have to be redone, is not leaking, it's got all the power it needs, just needs to be made pretty, and that would be my fence. My fence and the gates. I have 3 gates. One on the end where you first come in. That would get you to go through the driveway around Bob's. It also gets you to the little campsite on the side. There's no gate or entrance except for that one. That may change. The other 2 gates in the front for both driveways that go both ways. Then I have a gate on the other end where the water guy comes in. And that's at most risk of injury. So I am going to fix that one first. It needs some rocks to kind of guide people so they can know how far to swing out so they don't hit the post in the gates. That is so loud. You know, it's the kind of day with all this wind that you'd like to be out in it because you stay cool and it's not that hot. It would be nice to work out in, except for the wind. And it will just about, it makes me lose my balance. I have figured out that if I'm going to get these panels fixed, I have to do the cutting inside the greenhouse because it's too windy out there. There is not a day where the wind won't blow those things. So there's that. Now, what's coming up? Tomorrow. This may or may not be in this video because I really want you to see the fence. I have talked about the fence. It turns out I ordered the fence in May. I was anticipating it in August. And now it's October. But it's done. And yes, I hate the idea of a fence. That's why I fought Bob on it. I didn't want to do it for all the reasons why I still dislike it. However, because Father wants me to be content where I am. He is showing me beautiful things that I can do around this fence line. And he has also brought me a sense of containment, almost. I was so overwhelmed. You look out over 2 acres of desert and you want to tend it. And you want to fix it and make it all pretty. And grow things on it and, you know, that kind of thing. Well, this has narrowed it. It's like, okay, now I can work in this perimeter. I don't feel so overwhelmed. It's this perimeter. And it's a nice perimeter. And I do hope, I'm even enjoying, you can't see it because you're looking south, I'm looking north. And my north view, I'll have to show you how close the fence is to the greenhouse. But see, that just contained the area too. And what I want to do is my buffalo gourds. I'm going to grow those buffalo gourds on that fence. And I might, and they're good all the way around. And I've got enough. I've got, you see them? They're right here. That's buffalo gourds over there, and they're full of seeds. I got about I got more than a half a dozen. Okay, they're full of seeds, and so I'll plant them along the fence line. So I'll have buffalo gourds, and right here at the greenhouse, close to the water supply, I would like to plant grapevines. Would that not be amazing? Grapes in the desert to go with my figs. And my pomegranate. I can plant a tree now because the cows can't get it. But I gotta come up with a really good plan to keep the rabbits away. Not so they don't eat it. And I think I can do that. And I've got trees that are like, I need to be out of this pot. And the pomegranate's one. It'll bloom, but it will not produce fruit if it's in a pot. And it has blooms on it. I'm so excited. It's still living. And so I've dug a hole, started. I've gotten the hole, so I know the tree's going to be planted there. I've got a hole in my yard that I have dug out that I want to amend the soil. So the next step is to I've got a big blue barrel, which you've seen me empty out. I've still got a barrel of that dirt. I'm going to take that, mix it with straw. I've got some compost tea, and I'm going to fertilize it real good and mix it up. And then I'm going to plant my trees. I'm so excited. I don't know why Father put on my heart the trees. I've never had so many trees in my life at one time. Now I have an avocado. I have to nurture it back, and I'm going to keep it in a pot for a little while longer. I've got a lemon tree. It's either lemon or lime that I've been growing for 2 or 3 years now, and it's finally about this tall. And I've discovered clay pots are just not good in the desert for planting in. They just don't do well. I don't understand it, but I need to move. What I'm going to do is bury those clay pots and use them in my garden to water my garden, so they will not go to waste. Okay, y'all. Am I done? I want you to see all the fence. I want you to know I'm okay. I will be okay. I'm having a struggle. It's the season. It's the season. And I'm remembering. I'm remembering this time last year. And I'm thinking how much Bob, he was always he noticed when I did things, little things. And he was so appreciative. Of little things that I did to bring him joy. Okay, y'all, that's all for this Wednesday. I will see you soon. I love y'all.